Corey Becker here with Patrick Ballard. He's a property flipper here in Calgary. He's got a super interesting background. At some point in the new year, I'm going to have him on my podcast. We're going to kind of dive into a bunch of different stuff, different topics. We're in a property that he's flipped, and we're just going to go through, we're going to talk about some of the risks right now, getting into Christmas time. And we know that the Calgary market is kind of different right now. We've got a lot of buyers just kind of sitting on the fence and basically not moving on properties. And it's partly driven by, we've had some really cold weather, plus we've got Christmas and New Year's coming up. But there's other risks too with not getting, say, product or your flooring or windows, that kind of thing, when you're doing the flip. So, hey Patrick, if you wouldn't mind just kind of sharing some of that stuff, some of the challenges you have on this flip?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, Christmas is not the most ideal time to sell. That'll be my number one caveat for this conversation. It wasn't really our intention, but because of some of the challenges we had in this flip, we sort of ended up selling over Christmas. So for anyone out there thinking of doing it, don't aim to sell at Christmas, or you'll be disappointed every year. With that said, last year Christmas was one of the best times of year to sell. Last year the amount of houses that sold at Christmas was crazy, but that was due to sort of COVID craziness, and there's a big influx of people coming into Calgary right now, particularly nationally from out east and from the coast. So for this house particularly, we had a 2.5 month schedule on it, which is pretty aggressive, because we did sort of what you would call a full gut, and plus we did the yard as well. So we did landscaping somewhat moderately intensely. We had to do the backyard pretty intensely and a bit of the front yard. But so that would have sort of plopped us down. It was like August, September, sort of middle of October sort of thing is when we expected to have it done and then marketed. But what happened in this house, which is happening a lot in our flips, is the supply chain is becoming very unpredictable. And I think that some of that's post-COVID hangover for the supply chain. I think we're all seeing it in all businesses. And maybe there was some independent issues as well. But here, for example, it was very important to get the windows done. These were old windows, they were aluminum, they're just garbage basically. So we felt in order to market this house, we needed to get the windows done. So we ordered from a supplier. Now I had 2 suppliers. I always get more than one quote, even just to check the quotes I work with. I generally work exclusively with people, but I'll always throw in a back check on quotes. And even if it's under, I don't always go with the other company, but I like to keep my ear to the ground for what pricing is, and then sort of have conversations with my suppliers. I'm pretty loyal to who I use, but I will check. So in this case, we checked for other window prices and then other window timelines. And the company we used, the prices were competitive, but their timelines were like half of everyone else's. For example, I won't name the company, but one of the major companies was like, 4 months. So like, it's going to be 4 months. It is what it is, especially for black. For those who don't know, black windows are pretty trendy right now, but there's an extra step involved in making black windows, so it just adds a bit.
Right? The timeline, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So their timeline was solid, and we always assume it's still going to be a bit more because you have salesmen, they get excited, they want to sort of get you to buy. I'm not saying they're scamming, but they are pretty excited, so they're going to give you the best time possible.
Kind of over-promising and delivering.
Yeah. I think it happens a lot to the best of salesmen. So we sort of added on some to that as well, but 6 to 8 weeks is what we were told, and it ended up being 4 months.
Wow.
So
in this flip, that's actually pretty significant. So because he could have been on the market, late October?
Mid-late, yeah.
Mid to late October, and now pushed to basically a really slow time in the real estate market into December because of a supply chain issue or maybe over-promising. So that's unfortunate, right? You as the flipper, kind of get caught maybe holding the bag, or maybe there's some monetary impact there, right? Because of the market timing. Well,
and then to go to flipping, like the way that you finance your deals flipping is different from flipper to flipper. Sometimes you have money partners who just float it, but when you're in this situation, if you're borrowing and you have interest every single month, these are very dangerous problems to get into, because there's basically 2 great times of year to sell, right? It's September to the end of November, great time of year to sell. And then I would say just coming out of winter till mid-July, probably beginning of July. So you want to aim for those 2 pockets, right? Those are for us, we call them our flipping pockets, but we want to hit those flipping pockets for timelines. But if you're financing If you're financing it monthly and you're paying interest, you get in a lot of trouble quickly. When you have these timeline delays on products. So particularly in this house, and the other problem is it's not just windows, because you can't finish everything, because once the windows come in, they're going to do a little damage around the windows, so you have some drywall work to do, right? You're going to have dust in the house. There are all these sort of other things that happen when they're doing windows that require about a week's worth of work after.
Yeah, true.
So maybe 2-3 days if you're lucky, but let's be honest, it's like a week, and you don't always have your subtrades just waiting for your windows to be done. So on top of that, you've got a week. We have a solid week of just pounding out stuff to get it ready to go to market. So the long walk on that one is that supply line on this unit was an issue, particularly with windows. We ran into a couple little problems with the window supply line. And like, to add to that, the last 2 houses I've had, there was definitely what I call random supply line issues. You just didn't get the one thing. Like, we ordered, fridge. We ordered a package for appliances, and just the stove just was a month and a half late.
Wow.
Why was it the stove? I don't know. COVID has some strange, like, aftershock effects. I think it's COVID. I can't think of anything else that's causing this random stuff to take forever. So
for sure. Okay, well, man, thanks for having me today. It's been fun, learning some stuff, and I'm looking forward to having you on the podcast.
Yeah, that would be great. I can't wait.